must renew it every morning. This has worked for me. This has worked for me, and I'm sensitive about this because I had a huge issue with depression in high school. I was really sad in high school, and I regret it every day. That's why I'm like the overzealous dad when I'm driving Taylor to school, because I'm like, okay, make sure you're happy. How's your day? Are you feeling good? You know, come on, today's gonna be a great day. And she thinks I'm half crazy, and the reason I'm doing that is because I'm like, I just don't want you to go through what I went through. I don't want you to feel the pain that I felt. You know, I was really unhappy, and I didn't know why. And in hindsight, I think it took me 20 years to figure out the reason I was sad and depressed was because my parents were sad and depressed. My father was a police officer. Lord Jesus, every time he went to work, there were drug dealers trying to murder him. You know, he was a Vietnam veteran. When he was 17 and went to Vietnam, they pushed him out of the airplane and he slept in a bunker in a ditch that night and had to hear mortar fire going off in Vietnam. So of course the heroin was an escape to get away from the hellhole that this damn government put him into over their useless war that was fought over some rich guy's money. Right? My mother has gone through only God knows what. My mother had a depression issue, and she talks about that living in fear. I don't know exactly what she was afraid of. I don't know exactly everything that happened to her, but I know that it must have been bad. And so because of that, the energy in the house was not always usually positive. Even if you came in and you said something positive, somebody would say something negative that would kind of neutralize the positive statement. So I became obsessed with positivity, I think, when I moved out of the house because I suddenly realized that about 19, suddenly it's like the sun came up and suddenly optimism became possible, and I read books about it and about attitude, and I learned a long time ago attitude is everything. Your attitude about anything you do is everything. That's why I always say I always win even if I lose. Like that's literally something I believe to the core, and I believe it's true for you as well if you are willing to consider and embrace this. You always win even when you lose. If you have the right attitude and you never give up and you always do your best, I tell my son, I say you're a winner because you showed up as a man and you did your absolute best you could do, and you're working to improve yourself every day, and you're pushing forward, and you have goals and dreams, and that's a winning attitude. So you win with your attitude. You don't win just with the outcome. The outcomes are going to vary, but the attitude can remain the same. Do you understand what I'm saying? So here, um, so going back to the whole thing with Drake and the sports betting, you know, I think it's unfortunate because the number one target of these sports betting companies is young men between the ages of 18 and 24. Uh, Up to 35 is about when the cutoff happens. Because about 35, you done fucked up enough that you realize like, okay, I got to get it together because I got kids and I got a wife now or a husband or whatever, and I got to make better decisions. But and also for men, 35 is like kind of a maturity point because your testosterone starts to drop. It drops 1% per year roughly every year after the age of 35. So when women would ask me about marriage, I say, yeah, I think men over 35 are better for marriage than men in their 20s. I think in their 20s, there's a lot of extra energy. You're figuring some things out. I think after 35, it's like, okay, I'm ready now, right? Again, it depends though, because you got a lot of DGs, disappointing grown-ups out here, like D1 likes to say. Or and by the way, D1, has anybody seen D1?